Hey, so this is a video about identifying what a source is so that you can cite it, right? And finding the stuff you need because you can read the instructions all day long, but sometimes you look at things and it's like, well, is this just a website or what? Because almost a whole lot of everything you're going to find is on the web, but it's not just all websites because it's there. I mean, there are different ways to cite tweets, social media posts, blogs, different images, newspapers. So you've got to kind of be able to look at something on the web and say, what is this thing? So this video goes through and, gives you some tips about the kind of different things that you can see. I mean, different sources require different information. So how do you look at it and how do you figure that out? So let's just move on. So where to find the instructions? I'll put the link in the description. The description. I'll put the link in the video for the Writing Down the Basics and the Purdue Owl webpage, and of course, those are great places where you have the instructions for how to cite things. For example, if you are now I lost my mouse. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. For example, if you are in Writing Down the Basics and you go to, I know it's on page 4, is the table of contents where the APA thing is. So if you're, there's the in-text or the references page, and so that would be that table of contents for you there. And with the Purdue Owl, the link I'll put in takes you to there. It's the general format for APA, but you can see here's how, I've got a book, I've got a periodical, an audio visual, the basics for those things. So that's where those are. So that's the kind of starting place, is knowing where to look up how to do it. But in order to do that, you have to figure out what kind of source you have. So I want to take a look at a couple of these and let's kind of figure out what's going on. All right. This first one is when you look at it. So that's the thing. The first thing you have to do is look at it, right? I mean, I know you know how to read, but to read a web page means not just reading what it says, but those clues there. So let's take a look and see what we see here. Now we've got the URL, or the web address there. This is institutional login. We've got Project Muse here. Okay, that's looking like a title of a web page here, some sort of thing, right? Advertising and Society Review, volume, issue, 2011, Advertising Education Foundation, Sex and Advertising, William O. Barr. Look, there's even a bio. We could click and take a look and see who is this William O. Barr person. And this just shows other articles that he has written. So sometimes it'll give you kind of a bio or something like that. And then we have this, here's this article that's written. Now, one of the things, whenever you see volume and you see issue, or sometimes that will be number, right? So some places call it issue, some people call it number, some places call it issue number. Okay, so just remember those two are interchangeable in that way. When you see that, you say to yourself, I bet this is a journal, because it is. Now, it's on a website. So how do you cite that? Well, that's when we go over here and we say, okay, wait, I have this magazine or journal article. And so read these slowly. Here's the author, and it says F and M, that's first, middle. The date goes in there, title in a regular font, only capitalize the first word of the title, the first word of the subtitle, and proper nouns, names of people and places. See, I'm telling you exactly what to do. Title of the magazine or journal in italics with major words capitalized. Volume, notice there's no space in there. And then number or issue, there's a comma, pages, period, and all these commas, periods, all that. If you have a DOI, you want to read these things. Okay, I'm not going to read them to you because that's your job, but this is one page, right? It will help you out. And then it gives you an example. So you can see here's volume, here's number. Sometimes they'll just have one. So if they just have the volume, then you just have that. If they have the number, put it in parentheses. That shows that's what it is, okay? Sometimes you'll have just the year. Sometimes you'll have the month and the year. Sometimes you'll have the whole date, okay? So this came off the web, and that's one of the ways we can figure out that this is a journal article, and it actually came from Advertising and Society Review. So when we cite it, we'll be saying OBAR W, right? That date. So what is the date of it here? 2011, right? And then we'll have the title of the article. So it's not this, it's not that. This is the title of the article, okay? This article is called Sex and Advertising. And so that's what we'll have next. We'll have that there. This Advertising Society Review, well, one way you can figure out what something is if you're not sure, and this is what I do, right? I will say, I mean, that takes me to it, but what is the publication? Often I write the whole thing out, and it says is a scholarly journal, okay? Now, this is on the Project Muse website, so I'm also going to need to let people know about that, and that's where if you have a DOI or a URL, so let's see if we have a DOI. Now, DOI, excuse me, will just show up. It'll show up with the letters. It'll say DOI, and it looks a lot like a URL. You always check the bottom and you check the top, okay? And look, there's all his citations. That's another clue that this is a scholarly journal, is we have all the sources he cited there as well. So in scholarly journals, they'll always have their footnotes, their information like that. And a lot of times if you need to say something about the author, like you want to put that into the first, OBAR is blah, blah, blah. A lot of times that's at the top or at the bottom. But okay, so there's nothing else that looks like DOI, that says DOI in it. And we could search Control F for find DOI, and look, 0. Okay, so we've already figured out just from finding this information that this is a journal. We double checked because we asked Google, what is the publication? Advertising and Society Review. Okay, we know this is the title of the article. This is the name of the source it came from. That's very important later on. Remember, source versus title. And here's the author's name. And then here's the URL we can give. So when we're filling that out, author, there's the title of the source. There's the title of the, there's the title of the article. There's the title of the journal itself. We're going to have that volume issue. And then we won't have, because we don't have a PDF of this, okay? Always look around. If you can get a PDF, it's a lot easier to do your in-text citations. But we don't have that, okay? So we'll just skip that. So whenever we're doing this, we just won't have the page numbers. But what we are going to have, like this right here, is that URL. Okay, so we'll put in the this URL at the end. Okay, and one other thing to look at, because we're also going to have to do some in-text citation. Whoops, let me make it bigger. Okay, so notice here he's got introduction. Don't do that in your papers, okay? That may be the style of this journal for them to do that. Notice here, since we don't have page numbers, this has got different subheadings. So the title's your major heading, and then it's got these sections or headings. And so here, when we do our in-text citation, and with that, let's see if I can remember that. A little bit. It's 90. When we do our in-text citation on page 93, it tells us, look, if you have the section, then we would need to put the section and which paragraph number it is. So here we would say, okay, say we want to cite, quote something like this, right? Then we would put, I would go ahead and include the 3, does sex sell? And then, of course, that's paragraph 1 in that heading, okay? So, does sex sell in quotes? Notice the comma there, para, period, and then 1, right? Just like that, Okay, and that's nice because we don't have to count every single paragraph in this whole essay, because there are lots of little ones and all of that kind of thing. So when you see these major, and a lot of times they'll be in bold, sometimes there may be something in the middle of an article. We'll look at example in a minute where it's like it's not a heading, but you'll see more than one subheadings like that. Then that's when you have to do both the paragraph number and that. Okay, so that's one way to identify a journal, is by looking for that, the volume and issue number. That's a really important one. Let's see what else we got. Let's go over here. Let's see. What about this one? Okay. So what is this one? Well, look, this is a PDF, right? Now it does say it's from this website, but look right here. kelli.ninja. That's not. And if you go here, this website is just defunct now. Okay. So we see copyright 2004, Antonio Lopez. We see advertising analysis, right? Y'all know kelli.ninja, right? So if you're going to cite something from this, you're going to have to, on your references page, we're going to have, who is this? Who's the author? I didn't write it. Antonio Lopez did. So we're going to have, check it out. Let me see. Let me just go make life easy. Still page 101, okay? Right over here. So page 101. This is a web page. So same thing. I tell you, author, first name, middle, and if you don't have the middle, just skip it, right? Don't put doctor or anything like that. The date, the title of the article in italics. Now notice APA is going weird on us, right? The name of the website and the website URL. So here we would have, it wouldn't be this because it wouldn't be me, right? We'd have Lopez Antonio. Did we have a date? Yep, we got 2004. So boom, we put it right in there. We'd have advertising analysis, and then we'd have kelli.ninja and the actual web page this is on. So web pages are easy, and I mean, you can see it's not, there's nothing else that identifies it. It's here, when you look at the URL, you can see it's on my web page, 1301. This is essay 3. Well, we do 2, right? And then here's the name of the article. So, you could always backtrack and say, okay, where does that take me? Well, that's just the, you got to have the HTML in there. But you could backtrack and say, oh, wait, what is this? This is not a journal. This is not a newspaper. This is just a web page. Okay? So that's another way of kind of figuring out what something is backtrack to it. And it's a web page because, wait, the ninja, right? So let's look again. Let's see another one. There are some hidden things a lot of times in some sources that will come up. So this is actually from a podcast, but this is the transcript of it, and you can't get the podcast anymore. It's not available anymore. It was a long time ago, 2013. Okay, I don't know if they've moved them. I can't find it anymore, so I don't think they keep archives. So you see, this is the title. Look, this is CBC. So almost always the name of whatever this thing is would be over here. So I would ask again, let's just go with CBC. What the heck is CBC? Oh, let's see. That's why we have to say the publication CBC. And what we find out is CBC, boom, news magazine, CBC News. It will tell us here that CBC is Canadian Broadcasting Company. You got to go down a little ways. Last time I did this, the Wikipedia article came up first. But I mean, it's part of what doing this citation is. Sometimes you have to do the research. Okay, so now we know this is CBC. So, for example, ABC, NBC, they've got websites, right? And so it may be a video if you were posting something, using something from there, or if it was radio, NPR, National Public Radio, you could be doing audio, or it could be some of their written stuff. So this is CBC's website. So it's their website. It's not like a newspaper, a magazine, anything like that. It's just the website for the company, okay? Now, so we know CBC is the website. And of course, too, look, right up here, start of the URL. It's not always the case, but It does say CBC. It's good to find out what it is, okay? So we know this is the title. We know this is the date, June 1, 2013. Okay, it says updated, but we can go with June 1, May 31, 2013. I would go with the oldest date, the one that's closest to us. And then you can see that there's just lots of words. There's not bold in there, so we don't have, let me make this just smaller, so we can just look for the bold, right? And so I'm holding down control and scrolling down. You can do control and minus or control and your plus, and that'll make things bigger, smaller, that kind of thing. So the thing is that we don't have, who's the author? Is this CBC? Well, this one's tricky. Okay, what we need to do is, what is this right here, under the influence? We go here and we find out this is actually a podcast, right? Under the influence. And there's this dude, Terry O'Reilly. He's the author. And so sometimes you have to leave the website you're on to figure out who wrote it or some other information like that. Now, if we're just citing from the print, we don't need to do a podcast citation because we're just citing from the website there. So here we're going to write down O'Reilly and then T, because if we're doing that website, we got to have that author's name, their last name, and then that. And then we go back to the main page over here, and that's the name of the web page here. And so, whoops, sorry, wrong one. That's the name of the article. So Shame, the Secret Tool of Marketing. The name of the website is technically, it is the CBC, but it is the Under the Influence page. So I would go with Under the Influence, because out of all the shows that CBC has on it, this is the Under Influence. It's like going to the Big Bang or whatever, the nightly news page. It may all be on CBC, CBS, whatever, but you're saying, look, this section. Okay, so I would put Under the Influence, and then we could go back, finish that off with, the URL there, just like that. Okay, so again, that one's pretty, this one kind of combines because it's part podcast, but again, we're not citing. This is a great reading too. It's great for this essay. Use some things from it. Check it out. But anyway, if we were listening to it, then we'd cite from the podcast. And so we'd look up, we'd go to, here, and we would say, how do you cite? I would just do a search on the Purdue website and do APA podcast, right? APA cast. And it will, audio visual media. See, it'll take us to the page, and we'll have to find podcast, and then boom, this will tell us how to do it. Okay? So, there we go. There's that. The key point there is just look around. Check this one out. This one is magazine/journal. Oh, okay, but look. Oh, first of all, it says magazine up there. Gotta love that. They won't always love that. But look, New Internationalist, newint.org. So clearly this is the name of the thing, right? Jesus is a Brand of Jeans, 2 September 2006. And then look, oh wait, Gene Kilborn decodes the gigantic propaganda effort. Okay, this is by, and look over here, it says Gene Kilborn, more about Gene Kilborn. So there's our author, there's the title of our article, our date, and then this New Internationalist thing. And so you can also just open, like I said, the main page, or you can ask again, what is the publication? New Internationalist. And Google will help you spell. I love Google for that. Magazine, based in Oxford. Okay, so all of a sudden we know it's a magazine. And if we're going to do a magazine, let me go back here because it has the page number, page 100. Woo, don't try to remember it. Just remember, look it up in the table of contents. Okay, it's a magazine or a journal. So same thing. Now here, we're not going to have these volume, issue, and page numbers because this is an online magazine. Okay, so I mean, it's made to be online. Now notice Lots of words, lots of words, lots of words. So if we're going to cite from it, we're still going to be counting paragraphs, okay? And just use your logic to count your paragraphs. But look, oh, watch, check this out. Unnatural passions. When I change the size, it gets all wonky, okay? But you can see, what you'll see is you'll see a consistency. We'll see another heading here in just a moment. Let me make you dizzy. Substitute stories. Let me reset this so that they'll be, okay. There we go. Substitute stories. You see, if you look through, you have to look closely though to notice that, okay? So all of a sudden, just doing that simple, what is this thing? And then of course looking around, it did say magazine at the top on that, when we had the top up there, but you know, it may or may not, but just doing that search for it tells us already everything we need to know. And so we've already looked at how we do that. We would have with this one, who is it? Oh, Kilborn, of course. Yeah, dude, you know, we'd have here, it's more kind of, we'd just be skipping. What we're going to do is we're going to skip the stuff we don't have. So we'd have Kilborn, J, the date, Jesus is a brand of jeans, New Internationalist. Again, we're going to pay real close attention to our periods, our commas. Since this is a question, use a question mark. The title's got it. If it doesn't, use a period. And then here, we're going to say, and wait a minute, we're not going to say retrieved from, okay? Look at this one right here. We're just going to say, we're just going to have the URL in there. I'll get in there and fix that. But when we look at the Purdue one, when we go back to the electronic sources, oh wait, I'm sorry, we go and we look at articles and periodicals, because magazines and journals come out periodically, so they're periodicals, okay? Article in a magazine, right? Notice here, they just added this at the end, okay? So ours is going to look pretty much the same. Author, date, there's the title, magazine is name is in italics, so New Internationalist, and then instead of the page numbers and the URL, instead of the page numbers and the volume and issue, we'll just have that URL. Okay, so it actually looks a lot like a website one, right? Yeah. Okay, a few more, because I just want to show you real quick some of the tricksy things. Like this one is really tricksy. Okay. This one's really tricksy because it's two things. It's both, it's on the website and, you know, I mean, it's a journal, right? Notice here, it says this article originally appeared in issue 37 of This Media and Values. But this is the Center for Media Literacy. And they have CML, but when you talk about it in your paper, you'd write it out, Center for Media Literacy, okay? We have advertising, hit or myth. Oh, there's our question mark. Michael Shudson, here's our author, right? And if we go here, 37, I'm going to open this in a new tab here. Takes me down to 37. There's advertising, hit or myth. No, notice this is fall 1986. So that's when this was written. Now, here's the question. Do we cite this as a journal or magazine? Because if you notice here, this has an issue number, right? That's got that issue number right there. And it was, I mean, we can see from the picture, this is a, you know, and it was an article in this magazine. Or do we cite it as a web page? Well, this magazine, that one, they're not publishing it anymore. So really, your job is to get your readers to it the best way you can. And if they're publishing it anymore, you want to direct them, if you can, to the original. If they're not, or it's like there's, you know, they couldn't access this, like it's behind something like you have to pay for and, you know, that kind of thing, then you want to get it to them, you know, what would be the best way for them to get it. And so here, I would argue, even though this is a journal, that we would use actually that journal thing, but we're going to give the URL up there for the Media Lit, Center for Media Literacy. So what I would say is this really, and see here we had to read this, the picture, and to look at it, and we can look up again, you know, what is, yeah, I'm just going to change that. What was it called? Media and values. Media and values. Let's do the ampersand. And see, it's like so gone, it's gone. Okay. Now don't just assume just because it doesn't show up at the top, it's not going to be there, right? So this one would be one of those where it's like, okay, this is it is an article, so I want to treat it that way. And I would go ahead and put media and values, and then I would put the issue number. But then, since we don't have those page numbers, I would just end it with the URL there. Okay? So really, again, we come back to this is very similar to the web page, right? In fact, it's basically the same thing as the web page. It's just there's different things in the journal. Different things are italicized and different things are not. And that's why you have to look at the instructions. Don't just remember how to do the website one and think that'll get you through. It might. Right? But if you're going into nursing, don't do that, man. Those nursing teachers, they're crazy. And you got other ones that are crazy, picky about citation. You can always get this right. And like I said in the citation basics video, yeah, you can use a citation generator. That is perfectly fine. However, if it gets it wrong, then that's your grade, right? And so a lot of them get it wrong. If you use Word's references tool, you have to know what it is and you have to know what belongs there, because if you just fill out those just basic things you see and you leave a lot of stuff out, it's going to be wrong. Okay? So it will, those kind of things help you, but they don't do it for you. They're not a replacement for you looking and doing things carefully. All right, so I pulled up one here. This is from our online database. So here we go. This is a journal article, and you'll notice magazine journal articles, print and online, okay? And then down here it says the library database. If it came from the database, APA recommends you do not include the database information, as that may change over time. And also, you have access to this. I have access to this because we're students, faculty, staff, you know, that kind of thing. Other people don't. So really giving them the whole, first of all, the whole URL, look at this thing. That's a beast, and it's not even over. It goes on and on. Are anybody really going to type that in? No. Okay. So, but really all you give people is just this ebsco.com part. And I put that in writing down the basics. You can see right there. So for example, ebscohost.com, and I shortened it. But I want to show you this because, it's another way that journal articles can look. Now, when you go, like I just searched for something to find, you know, as an example. So when I went and looked, I can click on the title in the search and it brings me to the record page here. Or you can click on PDF. I suggest you always go to the record page first because it always has some more stuff. And it shows you things like it says source. Wow, this is called Atlantis. And I can go and I can say, what kind of publication is Atlantis? Wait, a peer-reviewed scholarly journal. Boom, all of a sudden I know that. Now I also know that because look, volume 33, issue 1, right? Now I'm going to go get the PDF. I can scroll down here and read the abstract, but I want to go get the full text. And look what I'm going to find too. A lot of times you'll find that this kind of stuff is either at the top or the bottom, or look at these pages. Here's the author. There's our page numbers. So here we have page numbers. That's way better than having to do those sections and paragraphs. Atlantis, Journal of Spanish Association of Anglo-American Studies. Wow, that tells us it's a journal. 43-1. Woo, June, right? So there's all that stuff, right? This ESIN number, I don't know what that is, right? There's that. Also on the library webpage, oh, that's not there, it's right there. It'll tell you too, gives you a little bit more. So, one of the things is looking at these when you see that it looks kind of like a PDF, and you can tell this is like magazine-like looking, okay? So it looks like it was printed out in a book, right? Well, it's a journal, so it's one article. The whole journal is Atlantis, and Marissa here did not write the whole journal. She wrote the one article, Okay, so don't say in her journal. No, her journal's the whole book thing, the magazine. She wrote the one article. And so here we have the page numbers too to use, which is very nice. Okay, so that's another way that sometimes they'll look, and that's, you say, okay, that's a journal. Like that's totally a journal. And you'll notice the language is a little higher. So this is what we would do. And again, you don't even have to put the EBSCO or anything like that. And here, I mean, it will give you cite, cite, APA 7th edition. Okay, but notice this is all in caps. No all caps, okay? All right, that's correct, that's correct, that's correct. This, don't even know what this is, right? If the rules don't call for it, don't put it in, okay? And then here's volume, the page numbers. Oh, look, there's our DOI. It does say DOI is better than the URL. So we could copy and paste this, but we would get rid of this because that doesn't belong. We would change this to just regular capitalization for names. Okay, there we go. So again, you can use those citation generators. You just got to look up the things and check them. All right. I think there's only one more. Will TikTok make you buy it? Will it? I'm wondering. I haven't read this yet. I really want to read it. Okay, so this is the New York Times. You may know what the New York Times, what kind of publication is the New York, I always spell that wrong, Times. You may know what it is, you may not. It is, lo and behold, a newspaper. So there we go. I don't have newspapers in mine, but again, I can just do, this is how I really do this a lot. APA newspaper. Oh, hey. Right there it is. Okay. There we go. Oh, electronic sources right there. And then I can just do find newspaper. Whoops. 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 Where is it at? Wikipedia article. Don't cite those in your college, okay, paper, right? Okay, online news article, but that's different from a newspaper, okay? Let's see. This is we go to other non-electronic. This is the same one. Periodical, article, online news article. Oh, wait, this is, look, Washington Post. Because I know the Washington Post is also a newspaper, right? So here we go. We've got author. Look, there it is. There's the date. There's the title. Notice that time. It's not. And notice they do this too. They give you the last name, first, middle, year, month, title of article, title of publication, URL. So this one, easy peasy, right? We know who wrote this. Let's see if we can't figure out who wrote this. Yes, excellent. Thank you, New York Times. Oh, by John Herman. Cool. Look, October 2, 2021. This is just the other day, right? Will TikTok make you buy it? So easy peasy lemon squeezy. Hennerman or whatever his name is, Jay, right? We had October 2, 21. So we're going to have year 2021, October 2. Spell out that month. Title of the article, will TikTok make you buy it? We know it's from the New York Times, so we're going to put that in italics, and then URL, all we got to do, copy and paste and put that in. So the moral of that story is that, one, I mean, look up what things are, but also that it's not that hard, right? And you can have generators do it for you. It's nice to copy and paste, and they've already done a lot of the typing, but double check it, because it's really it shows how much attention you pay to detail. A lot of people look at it and say, this really shows me how much they care, how much they're invested in their education. You don't have to care about the class or the paper to do it right. You need to care about your education and about you. All right. So, okay. let me move on because I've already been talking too long. Now, once you put all those together, that was just citing the references, right? You're going to put them on that references page at the end, and they're going to be in that alphabetical order according to whatever's, first in the citation, that kind of thing. Now, there's a handout for this assignment that we're fixing to embark on after we do the format assignment. So, oh, I clicked on the wrong link there. Okay. You might want to check that out, and I'll put that in there. But it's also in the assignment, or it's on our website. It's on our schedule over and over. So I'm not going to bother with the link there. But it's just another kind of short form, shows you, wait, here's how different ways you can get that author, date, location, author, date. Wait, we got to have the location. Okay. Author, date. Oh, look, location. Right? Author, date, location, author, date, location. Remember that, okay? And there's also a link for weird things with authors' names, kind of things. So you want to read through this whenever we get to it. That's the moral of the story there. That's probably extra. So if you're not sure what something is, Google it. What kind of publication is the New York Times? What kind of publication is the Muse Project or Atlantis or the CBC? Whatever, right? Just make sure and look. And so that's the first thing is knowing, okay, use the writer's reference, use Purdue, and that's well and good. But when you're faced with looking at something, that's when you've got to say, let me figure out what this is. 1, Google it, and 2, use your eyes. Look around, look up, look down, look right to left, right? Read, start looking for those things and start saying, wait, what part is the whole source, the big thing, the whole magazine, the whole website, the whole journal article, the whole newspaper, the New York Times? That's, every day they publish a new one and it's got a bunch of articles in it. What part is this littler thing, the little article I'm reading, the title of that? So there's the big source and the small title, okay? And that should help you. What I did right there is exactly what you're going to do in the citation activity. So this should help you do that. So you get to do that as many times as you want, and until the due date, all right? And it just asks you to look at, a number of an article. It has a URL, and so you'll open it. You'll have to copy and paste and open it, and then it's going to ask you, what kind of thing is this? And so that's your first thing. You need to look and figure out, what is it? A website, a journal, a magazine, a newspaper? What is this? It's going to ask you, who's the author, right? What source is it from? What's the title of it? Who's the author? And then it's going to ask you, if you were going to cite this, would you use page numbers? Would you use just paragraph numbers? Or would you have to use the section and the paragraph numbers? Okay? So you're going to have to look at it that way too. All right? And that's what you're going to have to do with any kind of source you use, is you're going to have to know those things minimally to get the stuff in there. Cool beans? So there we go. That's your kind of overview to kind of just figuring out, not just okay, I want to use this, but how do I cite this? Because the biggest thing is figuring out what it is. Once you figure out what it is, then you can look it up and read the instructions. You can use that citation generator to give you the basics and compare and fix it. Okay? Cool beans? So, all right, that's all I got. Let me see what the next slide is. Let's see. Oh, questions. Let me know. Call me, text, email. Okay, whatever. So, other than that, I think we're done.